Okay, what a night it has been. I'm making this video just to sort of get our experience, our reactions, I guess from the historic aspect as well, like this is what it was like in the moment. I guess it happened about 12 hours ago. Something very unexpected happened in South Korea where the President Yoon, who was a deeply unpopular president, he declared martial law late at night. And this just, everybody was taken by surprise. And you know, what does that mean? Suddenly the military is coming in. Like, just, you know, what does martial law mean? Like curfews and the military and freedom of the press is gone and you can't protest. Like, it's 2024 in South Korea. Absolutely insane. And so it's the next day and I just wanted to view our experience because we were awake. And kind of now at the moment there's people who were awake when it happened and those that slept through it. And the ones that slept through it are very lucky because they just saw it the next day and saw that things were probably okay. And so they don't really understand what it was like in that moment. So I was about to go to sleep, and then suddenly a friend messages me and Hugh messages me from the other room. President Yoon has declared martial law. What? What? I mean, there has been nothing leading up to this besides just political standoff, right? Martial law. What? And so like I come out to Hugh and I'm like, what does this mean? And he's like, I don't know. And then the military is going to Parliament and they're trying to block protesters and block politicians coming in. And Yoon did it in the middle of the night because it was harder for people to get there. People, you know, so many people slept through it. And what does that mean for us? And then we quickly realized this could destroy our lives. We're a multicultural family in Korea. We can't live in a country where there's martial law. And also for Hugh's work, Hugh works in like events, social media, tourism industry, and martial law is happening. That means absolutely everything is cancelled. Now our income completely disappears. We are absolutely devastated. So besides from the sudden loss of democracy, our income, our livelihood, everything is gone. And so for us, this is what it was like in that moment. So I'm thinking, how does this affect us? We're supposed to be, or me and the kids are supposed to be traveling to Australia in 2 weeks. What if we can't go? There was already all these rumors going around like, oh, foreigners won't be able to leave and this, and just so many rumors because martial law is very extreme. And so people are already starting to cause rumors and make up things. You won't be able to do this. Like, what if I went to Australia with the kids and then I wasn't allowed back in? We weren't allowed back in. Was our family going to be separated? Like that? Like, what is it going to mean for us? And just like Korea has experienced this before, like 40 years ago, and just everything is so different now. So everybody was just so shocked. How can this be happening? And so what happened, we saw it on the news and just absolutely shocked, horrified, devastated. What does this mean for us? Our life as we know it is over. The freedom that we enjoy in South Korea, it's suddenly over because the president declares martial law like this. And his reasons were just ridiculous. And even like international news was calling it out. Like, oh yeah, there's North Korean interference and this and that. And just it was just the same rhetoric that they use against each other all the time in South Korea. That like it means almost nothing. There was no real reason for him to be declaring martial law, except they've been trying to impeach him. His wife has all these scandals and things happening. He's the least popular president. And so it starts coming out that his party, his own political party, did not know that he was going to do this. They are horrified as well. And he did it in the middle of the night. So suddenly all these politicians are being woken up, being like, you need to get to Parliament now. And the military is already rolling in. And also I feel bad for those soldiers as well, because probably they don't support President Yoon either, but they're being forced to come in like this. So all these politicians are getting out of their beds and coming in, but there's already the military blocking them. And the people, the South Korean people, start coming to protest right away. South Koreans know the importance of a protest. They love it. Even though technically now there's martial law, they're not supposed to be doing that. Of course, they're coming. They're like, they are not going back to 40 years ago. People still remember, like, my husband Hugh was born just after or around that time. Like, his mum was like, how could they go back to that time? It's a living memory that people remember. Dictatorships and martial law and curfews and people dying. That's the other thing. When it first started happening and the military is coming in and we know that protesters are coming in, we were sitting here being like, people are going to die. It just takes one thing to set it all off and people are going to die. And that's what was so horrifying and scary in that moment. And people that slept through it didn't experience this. So I think a lot of them, they don't understand. But we had Korean stuff streaming on the computer. I had the BBC on. BBC had excellent footage of it. And so we have these politicians coming in and they're being blocked from getting into Parliament. And President Yoon had put out arrest warrants on rival politicians. Like, they were trying to arrest them, and the protesters, the people, were helping the politicians to like get over the fence, to get into Parliament. And then we slowly sort of start to realize that if they can vote this down, then it might not happen. But there was an hour or so where we just thought our lives, how they are over. Like, just how could this be? Absolute shock of like, how could this be happening, right? And then it just felt like, suddenly everything would be changed. There would be no school for kids or work tomorrow. There would be tanks rolling down the street. There would be soldiers everywhere. That's what it felt like for about an hour or so. And then we start to see on the live streams on the news that, they're getting the politicians in. Both political sides are coming in and protesters helping them get in. And then we start seeing this live feed of them coming in and sitting down, and they voted to not have martial law. 100%. Both political sides are like, this is ridiculous. We cannot have this. So they do that, and we felt this relief, but we still President Yoon. It took a while before he said, okay, I'm not doing martial law now. It took a while, and so we still went to sleep at 2:30, feeling a lot better and feeling relief, and hopefully that our livelihoods are not going to be taken away. But still, it wasn't until we'd sort of gone to bed that it was like, okay, it's not happening. It's not going to be martial law now. And then all the politicians in there had to stay in there, and now they have to impeach. They have to impeach him. And this is what is so ridiculous. This is the president who was trying not to be impeached. He knew that they were always trying to impeach him, and why would you do this? It's just mind-blowing. You're trying not to be impeached, and then I really think that he thought he was going to be a dictator. It was going to be 40 years ago or so, and he was just going to have control of the country like that. But South Koreans are not putting up with that. They have democracy. They understand how fragile democracy is, and more people started coming to protest. And I think there's probably still people protesting. They said they're going to protest until Yoon is completely out and gone, and just oh, and I'm just so thankful for politicians on both sides that are like, no, we are not loyal to this president. We are loyal to democracy. Like, going through this emotionally was so difficult, but the relief at the end, oh, but still, I don't know exactly what is going to happen. Like, we feel a lot better in relief, but it's still just like, oh, this was really scary. So when I took my daughter to daycare this morning, I was talking to the teacher like, oh my gosh, this was so scary. Oh, it's probably okay now. I go to my local cafe and talk about it there. Everyone is just being like, this is such a relief, but it's still so scary. So I just went and asked Hugh back then what else he wanted to add to the video. He's like in his pajamas back there. But yeah, he was saying like he knows other countries will be worried and that, but Korea has really shown just how strong their democracy is. There might be travel warnings to Korea and that, but we're really hoping that this was it. So hopefully, you know, in the next day, few days, few weeks, things will just be going back to normal, and there won't be anything that is really dangerous, and hopefully things like travel and everything like that will be okay. I saw people like they were worried about, you know, tours and concerts, and because everything would just be completely cancelled. And then other people were like, oh, you're so selfish worrying about that. But I just want to say that people work in those industries too, and people might have selfish reasons for like, oh, I'm worried about this concert and these idols touring and that type of stuff. But I also appreciate people worrying about that, because we need people to worry about that, because that's a big thing for Korea's economy as well. And like I said, like, people, if all entertainment is cancelled, people lose their jobs, people lose their livelihood. I literally don't know what we would do. In that moment, I was like, oh, do we just go back to Australia? We give up everything, give up our life here, go to Australia? Like, will Hugh even be able to do that? Like, we could have just lost everything in that moment. So yeah, don't be too hard on people that are like, but what about this concert I wanted to go to? Like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. But yeah, and then I guess like a lot of people on Instagram that were sort of following along when I was sort of like live reporting it, yeah, wanted me to sort of speak more about it, and I just can't reply to every message like that. So I thought it'd be better to just do this video, which I know is very incoherent, and just trying to do it to get it out there and just capture the raw feeling of how stressful this was. And I think knowing all the things that are happening around the world made it even more stressful, of like, we really did not know what was going to happen. Like, martial law is declared. How do you come back from that? So there was an hour where we're like we don't know. We don't know what is happening. It was absolutely terrifying, and it was also terrifying knowing the things that other people have been through in the world. We are so lucky. We are so lucky here, because it doesn't work out for every country. But yeah, I feel like there's a really big divide of people that was awake through it, and then those that slept through it, and they wake up and everything's fine and back to normal, and they slept through martial law. That was their experience with martial law, and they slept through it. I'm very jealous of those people. Even one of my friends said her co-worker came in and was like, it's not a big deal, isn't it? It's like, oh my gosh, do you not know the history of Korea, what Korea has been through, what Korea has like been through to have democracy? And that's why people went and protested right away in the middle of the night. And you know what, like, President Yoon tried to do this in the middle of the night because he was hoping people would be asleep, and then also in winter. But joke's on him, climate change has meant the winter is not that cold yet. But obviously he wanted to stop protests. He wanted to stop people from being like, this is not okay. And so the heartening thing in all of this has been seeing politicians on both sides and all the people saying to this is not okay. You cannot do this. And I feel so grateful to what I have, because everything could have changed. I still have the adrenaline and the stress in my body. So that's why I just wanted to talk about it and show, and just for literally the historical record. Like, that's what it was like in this moment. Like, completely normal day, everything was fine, and just, it was like a bombshell. And I could see like the experts on like CNN and BBC and that, they were all just shell-shocked as well. They just couldn't believe what is happening, and like there didn't seem to be a real plan behind it besides Yoon just wanting to be a dictator. Like what are you doing? Just absolutely ridiculous. And like the BBC had great coverage, and like have to say, you know, a big shout out to all the journalists that like got up in the middle of the night and went down there and were documenting it. They did like just such a awesome job, especially as like the freedom of press and that was being taken away, but they were there and they were recording, this is what is happening, and we're not letting this happen. Oh, if anyone tries to tell you, oh, this wasn't a big deal, like, no, this was a massive deal. And the people that lived through it, that were down there protesting, the ones that were awake and at home and looking on the TV and their phones, and it was so stressful because also there was a lot of rumors and that of what this was going to mean, and yeah, what freedoms were going to be taken away, like curfews and, you know, not being able to leave, and you could be stopped by the military. Like all this stuff happens in martial law. You'd be stopped by the military, searched for no reason, arrested for no reason. Like, and Korea was like, no, we are not going back to that. All right, a few more things. People were talking about, how do you explain this to your kids? And I had to say something to Yul before he went to school. Like, we didn't even know if school was happening. Everybody still had to go to work and school today. Even, you know, we stayed up watching democracy almost crumble. And everyone's like, why I have to go to work today? But yeah, when Yul woke up, I had to, because he's going to hear something at school and I don't want him to be scared from that. So I had to try to explain, the president tried to do a really bad thing and tried to take over everything. And it was stopped and we're okay, everything is okay, but you have to try to explain that. And then also, even though the majority of people are like, martial law is bad, we don't want this, we want democracy, people have seen people that they know or friends then be supportive of President Yoon and want martial law, like probably just a small percentage. And so Hugh and other people have said they've had to like go through their contacts of their friends list and block anybody that is saying that type of stuff, and being like, not only do like I'm not going to interact with you on social media, I'm not going to see you in person if you are that type of person. So I think there's been a lot of upheaval. Of course, the majority of people like do not want martial law. The majority of people are normal people like that, and 100% of the politicians voted no for martial law. Do not do this. You cannot do this. So overall, like that's a very good thing. But it's been a lot of very unnecessary stress. And the final thing I want to say is that President Yoon is very inspired by Trump. That's who he models himself on and who he looks up to. So the good thing is all the politicians here are loyal to Korea. They weren't loyal to a president. But this is definitely a warning to the US. I'm sorry.